Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of Joe and Matty Talk New York Sports. And today we're going to talk about the Yankees and their issues.
I wore the wrong shirt today, Maddie, but I had a LeMahieu T-shirt on and I had to switch it because I got tomato sauce all over it. So things are changing.
Yeah,
So I was thinking Yankees today, but off we go.
yeah.
You're going to be our host today. Guide me through what we're talking about, Maddie.
Yeah, so today we're just going to kind of dissect everything this year with the Yankees, I think. And I have like seven different categories that we're going to go through and how we're going to run this. And I kind of like structurally set it up so we could have like an open discussion at the end of each like
Well,
concept. And
cue it up. That's all they're waiting for.
yeah, so first I think we really need to talk about like what went wrong this year. And I wrote down a couple bullet points, and I said really it was errors defensively, offensive woes being up and down, and the bullpen was way too up and down, and also questionable decisions in the moment by Aaron Boone and the coaching staff, and losing consistently and constantly to the Orioles and other teams that the Yankees are far
Yeah,
inferior to. And
not beating the
lastly,
bad teams.
yeah, and
Go ahead.
lastly, inconsistency from pretty much everyone offensively except Judge and Stanton. I think that's really just set them back too much. They lost in like when they were in bad streaks. They didn't have help from other guys, and you can't lean
But I
on
think
those
it's
two
because
people.
they had a poor roster construction from the beginning.
Hmm. Yeah,
All of those things you say stem from they started the season a heavy right-handed lineup, ton of power hitters, ton of guys who strike out. I think
yeah,
some of the guys like LeMahieu maybe were got excited by all the home runs and started getting distracted early in the season. That when you struggle at the plate, that ends up turning into errors in the field. You saw guys like Torres when he was moved to second base, he started hitting again. You're right,
yeah,
Judge Stanton, great through the whole way, but the lineup was built poorly. The
yeah,
pitching staff was highly inconsistent. You also had, they took away tack from guys who are used to throwing with
yeah,
tack a lot. So
yeah,
whatever you want to say about that, that is a legit reason why these guys struggled a little from the pitching. But I thought the lineup was bad. It was a bunch of big power hitters who strike out and don't play great defense. There was no speed in the lineup, and we all watched them in the last quarter of the year when they had young guys who stole bases, played great defense, who may
yeah,
not have made $30 million a year and hit a ton of home runs, but they really balanced the lineup and they were on base. And being on base
yeah,
puts pressure on opposing pitchers, gets them out of their rhythm, and that's the number one factor. I think they get too
yeah.
excited about the shiny object that hits a big home run. Gallo was terrible. I don't tell me how many times he walks. He was terrible.
That but walking doesn't do anything
Yeah,
to me
yes, it does
really.
get
Like,
it. Well, it gets guys on base and puts pressure, and it allows for RBIs. But at the rate he was striking out and hitting 200, great. You had one walk. You're still not on base percentage
yeah,
is not what we want it to be. You contribute nothing to moving runners when you're striking out. You put no pressure on a pitcher. When they know you're in a rut, they could throw it out of the strike zone, and you're just.
oh yeah,
And we got another year of this guy. It's terrible. But
yeah.
then, I
I
mean,
mean,
also injuries do always play a factor. They lost last year's home run champion Voigt pretty much the whole year. Hicks, who brings
I think
defensive
they
speed.
yeah, I think they really kind of also by the trade deadline, they tried to quickly fix everything. I feel
Yep.
like by bringing in guys, and they tried to
Brought
change
in
their whole
lefty bats who
mojo.
play defense,
Yeah, they tried to
except
change the
Gallo.
mojo also to like a running game. Like they tried to bring, like they brought
I
in Mo
think they were
Castro.
forced to do that, though.
Yeah,
I don't think that was the plan. I think they were forced to do it. And when you look at the round at who is winning, who hits behind the runner and hits with runners on base and steals base is really good. Tampa,
yeah.
Houston.
But
you
they
know that.
also Tampa, the Yankees, the striking out's annoying, but you can strike out a lot and be successful. Tampa Bay struck out more times than the Yankees did this year, but they're almost perfect defensively, and they pick their pitchers up defensively, and they have clutch hitting, and they don't always hit the home runs when the bases are loaded and two outs,
Yeah, but they
but
get
they
the
get the
hit when guys
singles
are
and they
on.
get the doubles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And when they have to bunt, they move the runner. And when they have to hit behind the runner, they really are great at all the fundamentals. And, this age of where everyone just wants to hit monstrous home runs. Judge is someone who's, I think, exceeds that because he looks like the classic home run hitter, but he does play really good. He played great defense. He played a good arm. I think he's one of the people who transcend that.
He could strike out as much as the next person, but what you don't really see from him, he'll strike out sometimes in big scenarios, but he usually doesn't. That's the problem.
Odds are people are going to strike out. That's it. But the key is when runners are on base, can you move the runner or can you get the clutch hit at least?
That's why I like Gardy. That's why I like Gardy because
he could be hitting 220, but when there's runners on, he's looking for a hole to put the ball.
Contact too.
Yeah, he has a plan up there to do something. His only plan is not let me try to take a home run and loft it into.
Well, that's what you could be going back to with the Rays and striking out. I don't care if it's like the Yankees are up 1-0, bottom of the first, 2 outs, and Stanton strikes out on a nasty pitch. That's not what we're saying. It's really just when
two guys on
out in big scenarios. Yeah, they're striking out in too many scenarios that are big in a game. Like just Stanton, I remember at Fenway when it was one of his downswings of the year, and he didn't have many, but it was bases loaded, 1 out, and he strikes out a pitch that's like 2 feet in the dirt, and the Yankees are losing by a couple.
Chasing bad pitches. Well, that brings up, they fire the hitting coach, they fire the third base coach. How important do you really think that is? And, when we're in this age of baseball where everyone thinks that Aaron Boone doesn't even make the lineup anymore, that it comes from statisticians and Brian Cashman and all these, GM departments around the league are telling you, here's the analytics that say, here's your lineup. And I think, when you do that too much, you forget the fact that these are human beings. And you wake up, maybe you're not feeling so great that day, or psychologically, you have a pitcher where you're just like, God, this guy owns me. That doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. And that's where a manager could really be key to, change your motivation and make random changes. But the Yankees seem to have stuck by the book. They should take an entire offseason and look at the Astros organization outside of their cheating. Look at the Rays organization. The Yankees are trying to do it the Dodgers model, or I would say the Dodgers took the Yankees model.
They don't have lights out starting pitch. They have good starting pitch, but they don't have lights out starting pitch like that. Exactly. They have Walker Buehler.
They've missed on their pitching prospects where the Dodgers have hit on a bunch on top of piling on $8 gazillion on top of their lineup. Anyway, what's topic 2 here, Matty?
I think really it's just what are the problems that we need to address and fix this offseason? I have down 1 shortstop because
shortstop in your mind right off the top of the bat, do you want someone who plays defense or plays offense better?
I want someone who's a great defender and can make contact in clutch scenarios. I don't want a strikeout guy, and I want a guy
would be great. Remember Didi? Yeah, a left-handed guy who played great defense and motivated the team. But would you go back to, and I apologize for forgetting his name, the young kid they brought up? Would you even dare starting the season with someone that young? And
Velasquez, I would, but I don't want to see the same
because they're going to have to save money somewhere. You're going to have to pay Judge this year. Kluber is a free agent whether you pay him or not, but there's a bunch of guys that unless you could maneuver a trade where you send Chapman out, but then if you send Chapman out, you got to find another guy to replace him. I know you mentioned on previous podcasts there's no one going to take Britton coming off of surgery, so that's a dead cost. You're going to have, I firmly believe, spend your money in pitching and see if you could get guys to fill. Like shortstop, don't go out.
Well, that touches on some of the other things I had under here, like clutch hitting. The defense was atrocious this year. And lastly, the starting pitching was good, but the Yankees need a designated number 2 guy that can get the job done and pick up some slack for Cole because he had no room for error this year. Cole had no room for error.
Let's talk about so Cole, I actually think should be better next year because I imagine Major League Baseball is going to figure out the tack situation and say, yes, you can't use spider tack, but maybe you could just use something simple like back to the old days. Maybe it's just pine tar or something, but so that they can put, there's an even balance between where they went. And so I expect him to be good. Tyone's going to have ankle surgery. I thought he was a surprise, and he really came on strong. I don't want to bring back Kluber. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't want to bring him back either.
Montgomery is great value for what you're paying him. Yeah, Severino should be back, but can you really count on Severino? Like, it's been a long time since he's been in the line. He looked good in the bullpen.
I don't want to see this year. I think Heel should be in the minors. I don't really want to see Herman. I wasn't really a big fan of. I don't think he's.
I've told you since the beginning they should have cut him.
I don't want Kluber coming back, and I don't want Herman coming back. I would like the Yankees to have Cole go into the offseason, get a number 2 guy, then have Severino.
Who's that? Who is the number 2 guy that you would target?
That's what I'm gonna have coming up on our next segment. But they need someone that's like, because Severino, that's the problem. He can't be a number 2 next year because you don't know. Like the Yankees have Cole.
Yankees got a lot of guys you're not sure about. There's a couple guys who may be a number 2 sitting right there, but going into the season, you don't feel confident like, oh, that's a lock. It's not Matt Scherzer rolling in there. Well, he's not a number 2, but you know what I'm saying.
But that, like with Cole, they had a lot of times they relied on him, and I thought even without the spider tack, he's still a great pitcher. And Exhibit A is against Houston. I mean, that was dominant.
He's got to work. He's got to do better against the Red Sox next year.
He has no room for errors. So, like, this guy's beaten down. He's tired, and there's no excuse because you are getting paid. Exactly, $300 million. You can't perform like that in the wild card game. I'll say that. I think his
attitude is terrific. The way he speaks he says everything he wants. You just need to get him a little tack back so that breaking ball he has more control.
It was heartwarming to hear in the post game conference or press conference when he said that he was sick to his stomach on how he performed. So it shows me that he cares and he holds himself to a different standard.
The game that changed everything this year was when Boone came to get him out of there, and he was like, no effing way I'm coming out of here. And he pitched and he dominated when they needed him in a pinch.
Yeah.
But you got to win in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, you need 2 starting pitching and clutch hitting. Because
that's what I heard too many times. You heard too many times in the pregame this year, Michael Kay say, well, the Yankees really could use a big start from Cole, but they need to have games where they don't really need a big start for him, where he could have room for error, and maybe
where they clobber the Orioles 5 runs in the first 3 innings, and then he could just cruise and take some pressure off his arm. He can't he can't pitch a pressure start where it's counted on every time because you're not going to get the same thing out of people.
Because he just had one going into the wild card, which it was his biggest start of the year going into. Then he had a week earlier, he had also what they called one of the biggest starts of the year for him. Like,
which of the young pitchers do you think has, if you were going to guess who might make an impact next year from the younger kids? Is it, like when we started the beginning in spring training, they had the kid, now I'm forgetting his name, but they called him young Pedro. Little Pedro.
Davy Garcia.
Yes. He was supposed to be the guy where like, this guy may end up be an 18-game winner. And did we even see him this year? So
I thought he was good. I think he had one appearance. I think he had a good start last year, but I think it was good that they kept him in. They
need someone like that to emerge on the scene and be a big pitcher, because that's what's going to carry you through a season.
But you have to figure out, because then you could put Severino in the bullpen next year, because I don't.
And then you could trade Chapman.
Yeah, I don't understand any Yankees fans that would say Nestor Cortez Jr. doesn't deserve a starting position next year in the staff, because
he should be the 5th starter.
He was outstanding. Yeah,
he did a great job.
Gritty.
He gives you value from a salary cap perspective. Perfect attitude of what you want, and he's perfect to go before Cole, because he's going to throw all kinds of weird garbage. and
Yeah,
throw the. And
yeah.
if you set him up in 2 starts where he pitches one night where the hitters are used to 85-mile-an-hour pitches coming down, and then you roll in Cole the next night with 100, it's a nice transition. I
Yeah.
think they're both righties, but still, it's funny you
No,
say that. I
Cortez is
almost got you
lefty.
a. Oh, see, even better. Totally change up. I almost got you a cameo from Nestor Cortez, but I saw them and they were pretty boring. Didn't have the same life of Bart Scott and other players.
Well, I want to ask you this though, because like the MLB and now sports are kind of coming up with these like weird traditions, like the title belts, the home run chains, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the Yankees whip out, see, kind of like out of nowhere, this turtle named Bronxy out
Uh,
like nowhere.
these things mean nothing to me, but in the
But
season for the
but
players.
with Nestor Cortez though was the one like literally treating him like a pet, and I thought it was hilarious because in the dugout he's holding like he brings him in the cage around. I
Be
like
honest with the amount of sickness that the Yankees have had, and turtles carry salmonella. As someone who had hundreds of turtles as a child, I think those things are fun, and there's
yeah.
each season there should be a new one. I don't think Bronxy should be around forever. The turtle like carrying with him game to game. But what's the
Yeah.
next topic we got for the Yankees?
Well, the next is really just the perfect blueprint, or sorry, I was worded wrong. A blueprint of a perfect Yankees offseason to avoid kind of what people were worried about with like stripping everything down,
All right, so I got
getting rid
some
of
questions
everything.
for you then. I know you did a little research on this. Let's start with a simple one. Anthony Rizzo, do you try to re-sign him?
That was the first on the list. I would personally re-sign him to a 4-year, $65 million deal. I would definitely
Do you
re-sign
know how
him.
old he is?
No, I think he's
Uh,
like 32 or something.
no,
30.
I'm asking. I don't know. Yeah, I would
Oh,
imagine he's low 30s. So
I'll look
maybe
him up
not
right
4 years.
now.
I don't know what the market out there will play him. I think his experience with the Yankees was good. I think he brings good defense. While he wasn't dominating, I
Yeah,
think he is a World Series winner. He knows what it takes.
yeah,
I agree with you. Depending on the money, if someone's going to throw him crazy money, then you have to back away.
I agree. Yeah,
So if you're going to you're the GM, you're going to go try to get Rizzo. What's your plan for Voit? Is it definitely shipping him out, even if you
gone.
can't get
I
much
want
for him?
him gone. I want him
But
gone. I agree. You got to get him out.
you're trading him at the low, and
But you,
he is a fan favorite that people love.
but
And
you can't keep this though. The problem with the Yankees is this has been since I would say probably the 2018 season ended when they led the league in homers and they were like the problem is those next 3 years they've run everything back besides maybe adding LeMay. They've run the same system back, which is
you're right. You're
run
right. The same
bring offensive bring
slow
right-handed
bait
offensive power.
sluggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the same, but the funny thing is it shows you how it's the exact same thing because the Yankees make it's good enough to make the playoffs, but it's not good enough to win a
Yeah,
World
because you could
Series.
beat up certain teams, certain ballparks, certain pitchers, because the pitching throughout the whole league is not good enough to sustain those kind of power hitters. But the
And
playoff teams
yeah,
do have that
if you're
pitching.
gonna change the narrative, I think if you're gonna if they really want to change things, I think he's part of what you have to move because you have to change it, even if he goes somewhere and
I
is
agree, but when
outstanding.
you make that
There's no room.
decision, I would be torn to. I do 100% agree. He should be traded. But if people are offering you nothing right now because he's coming off a busted season, I'm not going to give him away because he doesn't cost me a lot salary wise. The potential is there. He's the kind of guy that if I could get him in the lineup early in the year and he gets a month hot streak, then the moment you could capitalize on people thinking, oh, maybe he is healthy and maybe he can lead the league in home run,
Yeah.
get him out there. But if someone's offering me like no usable pieces or nothing, I'm not just going to give him away for nothing. But I do agree there's not a place in him in the lineup. All right.
And next,
Shortstop is obviously a big piece.
yeah, that was the
Was that
next thing on the list.
yeah.
I
Read your mind, man.
And
Come on.
you're gonna be shocked with this money, but like it's something like with the way they've spent their money on some players, it's something you have to do. And I think you have to sign Corey Seager to a 7-year, $168 million deal
There's
because
no zero chance it's happening in my mind.
but You have, but the problem
You
is
can't just
they need
like
to do it. They have to
they
because
don't need to do it. The Rays do the Rays have Corey Seager? Do the
no, but
Rays
you
have
need to
Aaron Judge?
change.
Do the Rays have Giancarlo Stanton? Do they have Garrett Cole? You don't need to do any of this. That's what the Yankees have been doing for years that got them. You know when they were the greatest? When they got someone through their system. Jeter, Pettit, Rivera, all those guys, Posada, all came through their system and they were able to capitalize and keep them at home. When you go out reaching for the big shiny toy, and then that toy comes in and is hurt, you have no ability to go again. They're gonna look. We all know
But
they have. You
what
tell me the
player
one
in
thing they
their
have to do is pay Judge, right?
we'll get there.
That will be over 200. That puts you over the salary. It's not a salary cap, whatever the hell they call it, the tax threshold. And then they're going.
Yeah.
You can't bring all these guys in. You have to all your money for me. Go spend it all on pitching. Get
Well,
the
the
best
problem is they
bullpen
need.
and starters you can.
But who right now in their system can come up and give you defense like Corey Seager can and hitting like Corey Seager?
Of
They
course,
need a hitting short. They need someone that
yes.
they don't have, but they don't have a hitter in their
About pretty
lineup.
much every free agent on the market. It's like, oh man, like someone else would be like, oh, we should go sign Aaron Judge because he's like, it just doesn't work that way. You just can't take every toy and just say it's mine. Like, I wouldn't even call Corey Seager or Trevor Story or these shortstops. Look, go find. I would rather honestly get a guy like Didi who plays solid defense and clutch hitting, who's off the radar and is a good value deal because the Yankees have already spent too much on their big fancy deals. Cole, Stanton, Judge, those are going to be their big fancy deals. Judge not yet, but soon. I think Judge will be up for arbitration this year and get probably $17 or $18 million a season, which is a huge raise. Pitching wins.
Yeah. And then next you've got to.
Where's LeMay going to play?
You got to trade Chapman and or Britton at the. It's just too much money, and they're not good.
But no one's going to take Britton.
I don't care. Then cut him because he sucks. And it's
cutting does nothing. It's not like the NFL where cutting him may free up room. The baseball contracts are guaranteed. So we own Britton as a Yankee fan. The best you could do is hope he rehabs and he's good. No one's taking him. Unless you pay.
It's too much money, though. But
you don't have
terrible.
a choice. That's why I'm saying you don't go sign 7-year deals because if he gets hurt and they're terrible, you're stuck in baseball. You can't get rid of that.
You got to trade it, even if it's a garbage trade. You got to get him out. You got
to. But no one's going to give you. No one's even going to.
He kills that team. He kills the Yankees.
The only way you're going to trade him is to a team who you're going to take on his salary, and the reason you're trying to trade him is to get rid of his salary. So. There's no value. You might as well wait and hope that he's a bullpen. You're stuck with him. That's what I'm saying. In baseball, you can't just cut and run from people. That's why you can't sign everyone to 7-year deals because you're stuck. You're dead. Like, what are we going to do with LeMahieu next year? Where is he going to play? Because is Torres going to play second? Is LeMahieu going to play third? Because then you
trade Urshela and you get rid of and you don't.
Now Urshela is a piece. Urshela is a piece you could probably trade because he doesn't make a lot of money. That is a valuable piece of trade that someone wants. Not paid too much and solid performer. But he's also.
I never want to see Miguel Andujar put on pinstripes again. I can't take it with the errors. It's like it's going against everything that they need to.
This was like a rookie, basically batting champ. So now we've destroyed his value. There were a lot of teams who wanted Andujar, and we sat on.
It's just the Yankee. The problem is the Yankees again are settling for the offense, though. If you want to become he is.
I agree.
Absolutely one of the worst defensive third base. The throws that are basically like underhand throws.
He's a DH, and he's very young in his career, and like
next.
I don't think.
Yeah, you're gonna hate me for this one. Sign Kevin Gausman to a 5-year, $110 million deal. And I'll tell you why. This guy is under the radar.
Like this is like gazillion dollar, like it is the Yankees, yes, but like
Yeah.
if you're just handing out contracts like money's falling from the sky,
But
that's
you
the third
need.
$100 million contract in 3 minutes.
I think. Okay, look, we can not make the Seager
Well,
deal, and you
now
cannot make the
I
Rizzo deal. But this is the deal that you have to make if you're going to make one of those three. This one is because
but
this
is
guy
that
went so under the radar
but
with
where did
San
you get?
Francisco.
Did you get the market value that like that is a realistic number that he could sign for?
It is
I
a
don't.
realistic. Yeah, for what the way he performed this year with the San Francisco Giants.
Also in the National League, so he gets one out, free out per 3 innings. Remember,
And he also note that the San Francisco Giants were the best team in all of baseball.
nobody predicted for sure.
And he was the number one pitcher on their starting staff.
Yeah.
Where do you think he's going to place with the Yankees? And he's played in the AL East before because he used to play for the Orioles, and he was very good with the Orioles, but they screwed him because they do that to their players, like Machado and
I mean,
others.
certainly that is a phone call you engage with and see what happens. I agree. Spend your money on pitching. There's no way I'm spending it on shortstop.
And then next, try to acquire Ketel Marte from the Diamondbacks in a reasonable deal. I don't have a deal written down, but try like in a reasonable way.
Void Sanchez in a sign and trade.
That's the next thing. You hate this guy, but you actually should stick with Gary Sanchez as your catcher, and I'll tell you why. Because one, the Yankees don't need to be going out there looking to pay more money to get a catcher. And when you have a catcher like Gary Sanchez,
I am very curious what Gary Sanchez might get paid on an open market. Like I have no idea what someone's going to offer him.
And I don't like Higashioka, and I do not think Garrett Cole is allowed to be requesting Higashioka anymore because Sanchez is a better bat and
I'm fine
Sanchez better arm.
A veteran defensive catcher. That's what I'm looking for. And if Sanchez agrees to take like a 2-year deal or something not insane, sure, bring him back. Yes, I'm not a fan of his, but it's all about price for me at that. And if there's a spot to save money, non-hitting catchers, defensive catchers, you could save a lot of money, and I think they have a huge impact on your team. Brian McCann was a great for pitchers, and he has actually hit clutch too. But one of these guys later in their career who knows how to handle pitching, and that I think that will improve your pitching much more than if he hits 30 home runs. Like having someone who really knows what they're doing and is really solid defensive, slows down a running game. I don't know who that is though. I'll be blatantly honest. I don't know who the catcher spot is.
Yeah. But I think with Sanchez, though, he can hit 200 and still give you power numbers that you like from a catcher. He could still be one of the best hitting catchers in the league.
Yeah, he could. Well, yeah,
but that's the catcher, though. Like you
could run into a 35 home run season with him, and not.
But Higashioka is just as bad offensively. If we really want to make comparisons,
Higashioka anything. Higashioka tried to be Gary Sanchez, I think, lost a bunch of home runs, and he had a little streak, and then he just was horrible for a while.
Yeah. And then finally, you have to extend Aaron Judge and name him captain of the 27-time champion and winningest franchise in all of sports history.
Like I've told you a million times, I don't care if they name him captain outward facing. Yeah, that's for the fans.
Captain. They look up to him though. You look and
you don't need a C on your chest for people to respect you and know. That's for us and all.
What about Derek Jeter? What about Jeter?
Did he run around saying he's the captain? No. Everyone knew he was the goddamn captain.
They called him the captain.
Yeah, because he was the man. It wasn't because the Yankees said, "Okay, here you go. Here's a ceremonial scene." You just represent who you are. Like everyone knows he's the key to the team. I have no idea what they can negotiate with him for a contract, but I'm scared.
The world. I don't care if they have $7 billion in tax or whatever debt.
Yeah, because you're not spending this.
I'll say it again. And you're not gonna like
Are
this.
you going to be
I will
okay?
not be I will not be a Yankees fan if they do not re-sign him, because that is the simplest, easiest, and just that's a deal you don't if you don't re-sign him, that might be one of the dumbest things in sports history.
Yeah. I mean, he wants to be a Yankee. They want him to be a Yankee. Everyone wants. It's just they got to get together and figure out what works. But
It's what I said was Zibanejad, and they came through, and I'm happy. Now do it with Judge. You have to. You. There's not a
can't wait to get back
situation where
up
you
to
can't.
the Rangers because the Garden is alive and kicking right now. But we'll stay with the Yankees. Next topic, Matty. Next topic.
I think we got to talk about guys that need to go. Obviously, we talked about Voit, Britton, and Chapman.
I think Chapman's got to go. Britton, I don't think you can get rid of if you want to. Voit, you try to get
and
rid
already of. One I had down was hitting coach Marcus Timms, and they already did that. So glad. Next two guys, Odor, because he's just like there's no room, whatever.
They're paying him too much too.
Little cheerleader, and then next is the guy.
Odor. I don't know how you're going to get rid of Odor. Like, remember, you can't cut guys, so you have to work on trading pieces.
I think And then next,
he brought something to the table in energy, but salary. If you're going to have to sign Judge and stuff, you got to trim some of these spots down.
Yeah, and next is the guy that's my least favorite player on this team. I can't stand him, and that's Aaron Hicks. I think you get rid of him. He's terrible. I've been saying it for years. The clutch hitting is
think of yourself
absent from him.
Yeah, but who on earth is going to take him? Unless you.
He's actually valuable, though. He's valuable.
To who? He hasn't played. Like, that's what I'm saying. You keep saying you want to trade all these guys, but give me a trade on the other end that someone would accept.
The Orioles would take it.
Why? Why would they take someone else's guy who sucks, who has a long-term contract?
We'll take John Means from the Orioles for Hicks. That's
now
their
put
best
your yeah. And do you think the Orioles would be like, oh yeah, let me do that? Like, come on, you're treating these other teams like they're
if Buffalo does it, and if the Sabres do it, then they're actually doing pretty good. So
it takes two to make a trade. You can't just tell someone, here, take my garbage. It doesn't work that way. That's the problem. Yeah. Aaron Hicks has, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 years left on his deal at anywhere from 11 to 9 to $12.5 million on his deal. And at the age he turns 36, for a guy who's been injured, no one's taking him unless you pay the money. And again, you're getting rid of him to pay the money. So you got to strike.
And I think
if he gets hot next year, goodbye. One person calls with a deal where you don't have to pay money and they're giving you a bag of baseballs, you get out of that and you go backward. Yeah. But it's not going to happen.
And the next two are just things I'm just going to state, and then the last one we'll have an open discussion on it. Fifth, the Yankees owe their fan base the best season ever, and that's obvious because they're throwing out.
I think. Well,
they repeatedly make the same mistakes every year. I mean,
you back?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I will cut that piece out of there. But we left off. I was like, I disagree. The Yankees as a Yankee fan, is the easiest fan to be in probably all of sports. Not for your generation, because you didn't get the titles, but I've seen multiple titles. I always know they're going to be in the playoff race. There's not even a question. I'm only looking for the title. And who am I to be like, in my lifetime, I've seen multiple titles. They don't owe the Yankee fans.
Multiple. You've almost seen like 10. You're close to like 10 in your lifetime.
All right, easy on the age there, pal. But Like the Yankee fan is not the hardest. It is so easy. You always know they're going to be. Turn around and look at the other teams around the league. It's like, do you want to be an Orioles fan? Like even if you were a White Sox fan, this year was good. It sucked all the way before that. The Cubs have won World Series, and then they. So the Yankees don't owe us anything. Yankee fans are very demanding, but the Yankees spend a lot of money. They put a good product on the field, so they don't owe us crap.
Well, I say that because it's just.
You didn't say that because you want to win a title, and I get that.
I want to experience it. And
what about Caroline, who's never seen the Bears win a title? Like that's tough.
I mean,
being a Jet fan, that's horrible. Being a Yankees fan,
I mean, really, just
across every.
I say that though because like
they've won the most.
I say that because I want once as I'm approaching the following years ending as a child, sort of easy, unless you say a teenager. I want to still experience it while I'm young, and it's been
when you have a team that gives you this many chances, I feel confident to say you're going to see it. When you're a team like, I don't know, the Seattle Mariners, who has no chances your whole life, you're not even going to postseason. You don't even have the dream that it will happen. That's very different because then when you make the playoffs, all the stress is on. Look at the Yankees just clobber the Twins every time they get there. It's like, oh, this is our big chance. Nope, you just get stomped out by people who are there all the time. The same teams.
Well, and it adds to. I agree with what you're saying, but also it's just now it keeps every year. It's just almost more devastating because they make it, and it was when they lost in the ALCS.
Ranger fandom and Nick fandom for me is so much more painful because I did see one Rangers championship. I've never seen the Knicks win a championship. I actually was there to watch them lose to Houston. So for those, that hurts for me. A whole lifetime without a title, that hurts for me. Watching the Jets be losers, that's things. Being a Bills fan, that's terrible. Go to the championship 4 times in a row.
But they're like the Giants.
Yeah, but they went to the title 4 times and lost. Like you're
okay. The Giants. The Giants.
That's 100% selfish. Saying the Yankees fans owe you something. Next question. That's ridiculous. No shot. You're gonna
really just throw away this season and start fresh. That's just a talking point. And then lastly, why there's upside to this crappy year that they had, and why we should be excited for next year. And I think that starts with Judge and Stanton because they are almost going to be due for their biggest seasons yet, and definitely MVP seasons for sure. Because you look, I have the stats pulled up right now. Both of them had over 500 at bats this year, which that's the first time together, and had over 130 hits each, and just home runs, 39 for Judge, 35 for Stanton, near 100 RBIs for each. Judge had 98, Stanton had 97, and Judge hit 284 and Stanton hit 273. And that's
but I think you've also found how to make Stanton comfortable again, like playing him in the field. Like he was a part of the team again, and that's what it took. And he wasn't a defensive liability, so huge optimism. I agree with you. You're going to plug him in one of the outfields. It's not great defense, but that's why I think other spots.
Well, they played him like he was coming off some almost life-ending injury.
Yeah, like his legs didn't work.
Exactly. Like it's not like he's still like an athlete. Like you look at him, he's like built like a beast.
Yeah, they overcompensated so much, and you realize
if you don't play him because you're too.
Only did that at the end of the year. Full season. Granted,
and that's when he's the best.
You don't play him 5 days a week. You still rotate him in as a DH, but having him into the field and being a part of it, that was a big difference.
Exactly.
But there's always optimism with the Yankees. Like we know they're going to go do something. They're going to go get somebody. They're not going to just ignore every gap. They have some young pitchers, maybe one of them, right? Yeah. They're going to be in the race next year, so it's going to be positive. It's not a tear down rebuild. Hopefully they pull off some trades and get rid of guys like Chapman who are just not doing it for me personally.
Yeah. And then next, you hope that Cole kind of plays the underdog card and revamps himself this offseason. And then
he'll go to work.
Yeah, and Boone's back, and the players love him. And I have something to say because I love these Yankees fans that are crying about Aaron. I love Aaron Boone. I think he's a great he's made questionable bullpen decisions, but he also doesn't have that much talent to deal with.
And
And
also over the course of 162 games, these people like nailed down. Oh, do you remember when he did that? It's like, yeah, it's not going to work all the time. These are people. They're not robots out there who always do the same thing. Sometimes
if anything,
they're gonna suck.
if you wanted to move someone, the right move would have been Cashman. I'm glad they didn't move Boone because that you can't blame Boone for batting
Honestly,
Voit fourth and he strikes out 5 times in the game.
I
Like,
have
that
been
has
great.
nothing to
I've
do
been
with Boone.
grateful for Brian Cashman my whole life, basically as baseball for the work that he's done. He's made great trades, but I don't think he's building a roster that works in this modern baseball. Let's just say like
Oh
that.
yeah, no.
So I agree with you. If next year is a total exact replica where they hit a bunch of home runs, they clobber some teams, but they play bad defense and they just end up getting quickly dismissed. It's time. I know he's been there basically half of his life. It's time for him either to move to a different role in the Yankees, but you need to bring someone in who has a different philosophy for team building.
And you don't, these fans who want to Boone on you, if you're gonna keep Judge and you're gonna keep like these guys, they like him, and that should mean something. Because
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
if you're gonna be Cashman or you're gonna be Steinbrenner, if you hear your play, like it doesn't matter because you said this, and sometimes I let being a fan interfere with some of the needs of the organization. Well, like you said, having Judge captain, other stuff like that. They shouldn't be moving Boone because the fans say so. They should be moving Boone if your players and if you consider Judge a captain and he doesn't like Boone, then you consider moving him. But they like him. Stanton likes him. There's no reason to move him. You cannot blame the
100%.
record and the offensive
Well,
woes.
also a lot of the decision making is taking away from the managers, like with an analytics departments and whatnot. So the manager has almost become a therapist for the players, like motivating them, keeping them aligned.
And back then, when when it was Zimmer,
and that's what Torrey was terrific at, like knowing how to motivate guys, knowing guys who don't need motivating, like when they're in a rut. You back off them and give them a break. Other guys, you need to, get in their face and yell. So I don't have a problem with Boone. I would really like to see a hitting coach who taught these guys to go back to LeMahieu's approach, hit the other way. I don't know who that's going to be. I would like to see, a Chapman traded and some sort of bullpen piece be put in place. But
that's what was the next point. We should be excited because Clay Holmes and sorry, and other bullpen arms just add to Cashman's sneaky moves that he's made.
Yeah, he's made a ton of them. Look at Voit. I mean, they got him, and he led the league in home runs one season. And they got him for nothing. He's made a lot of those great under the radar trades. Where he's missed is some of the big, the bigger deals, because you get caught up with the name, and that's where the fans pressure you because like, oh, I want that guy, I want that guy, I want that, and that's usually not the.
And you have new base coaches and a new hitting coach who we were just talking about for the Yankees, which should provide enough change.
I think they're more emotional than anything else at this point. Like I
liked Phil Nevin. I liked
Phil Nevin too, and I know he had a terrible record at sending guys from third, but
the Yankees are also slow. Like the Yankees are a
and
slow
also
team.
Half the time the players don't listen. They run, they don't run. It's like I think the rating of the third base coach is more like motivational than anything. I liked him.
But you know what though?
I think home run, handed him the football. I liked his attitude, Nevin.
I like that. Like I thought it was funny because like when they moved Reggie Willits, who's the first base coach, and Nevin, it kind of seemed like a publicity stunt to kind of show that they were moving people to change. When I don't think they had enough to be like, well, yeah, okay, he made that mistake in the wild card, but he should be gone. Like
that's the fan thing. They demand these change. You know who should listen to the fans? The marketing department. Brian Cashman should have no idea. Maybe he meets with the marketer every once in a while, and they're like, if you have to make a decision, this guy's much more popular. But they
I think lastly,
operations, if you lead by marketing, you're gonna not win. You're gonna have lost shiny stars.
It's too much analytics now, and
You just got to. It's great to use analytics, and it's great to understand information, and great to understand where these people make the decisions. But it's still humans who have feelings and nerves and stress the hell out. And like baseball's a stressful game. Getting a hit's not easy. You fail
And
more than you.
lastly, Yanks are due to win, and I think they should kind of like not harp and just let go of the losses in the last couple of years of the playoffs and kind of change the mojo and start up like a new dynasty built off the same morals and the same things that made them 27-time champions. And I think that was clutch hitting. And you look at 2009, you look at guys like they had Matsui and they had other guys like build off that. Like
I don't know how baseball teams go about improving that, or how do you become clutch hitters? And I agree with you. Everyone would want to do it, but that's what they need the most. I don't have the answer on how to address it for them, but that's what they should be trying to find in a hitting coach, is someone who could, maybe change the approach to moving runners more. And I honestly think if you start forgetting about the home run a little, you're still going to get the same amount of home runs, because when you're hitting 280 as opposed to 200, you're so much more confident, and then you make contact and these balls fly out of the park nowadays. But that's where is that where we're going to wrap up?
We could do 5 minutes on the Giants or the Rangers or any team you want.
Rangers are great. We'll get to them next podcast. We'll give them a week to soak in the season, but we saw something the other day we've never seen before, where they come back down 2 goals with 6 minutes left. It was tremendous. I didn't even realize it was happening.
We've seen that story. We've seen that type of game so many times the last couple of years, and it would have been what we call the Rangers having a good year. Throw it away. That's a throwaway game. You're not going to win it. You just accept that.
Yeah, exactly. I actually turned it to mute because we had your cousin Ethan over, and I turned it to mute. And I'm like, whoa, goal, another goal. It was good. But let's just end on this today. Giants win or Giants another just crushing it.
It's not going to be a crushing loss. I think you said it last week. You said that they're gonna like play with us and pick up a win. I think they're gonna play with us and have a good game, but I think they're still gonna lose.
I think for some reason, like, they're gonna win, and I'm gonna be all feeling great, and then I'm gonna get kicked in the face next week again. But with that, Matty, we'll get that Yankees one out there. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, and there should be. I'm gonna get another one out there. I know you sent another one this week, and I'm gonna try to get that out today before I have to get some work done and have family over. So there'll be 2. There'll be 2 podcasts coming your way very soon, and more to come as we get back into the swing of things. We'll do ones every week, and then we'll get back to hopefully some college picks and NFL picks next week if we can. But
pick of the day, Pats beat the Jets.
I don't want that to happen though. Like I want to see the Jets win.
Do I want that? I hate the Patriots, but Bill Belichick against a rookie quarterback is just screaming bad news. All right, I'm gonna go make some meatballs and some chicken wings for today. I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Love you.
That's kind of ironic because we're making meatballs today, and
we're
making meatball sandwiches.
Your mom asked me about a recipe, and that's what inspired me. I went to the grocery store, and now I'm making them.
Nice.
All right, I love you.
Right. Love you too. See you guys next time.
Bye.